Hey everybody, welcome back to another Pastor's Post. I am getting over being sick. I've had a cold. I went from Mexico being in 95-degree weather to being in about 2-degree weather up here in North Dakota. And now the weather's starting to warm up and it's just wreaking havoc on my voice and on my sinuses. And Anyway, I thought I would do a video just kind of doing some quick house cleaning, some things that I needed to address quick. And hopefully put some thoughts to rest. So a while back I talked about preaching without notes, and I can still preach without notes. I have started using paper. I will write out my notes by hand and put them in a small stenographer's notebook, and then I punch them out, if you can see that. I'll usually do about 4 or 5 pages, front and back, with just all the things, verses that I need to remember and things like that. And I'll use little tags in my Bible. And most of the time while I'm preaching, I found that I can do that smoothly, transition from one page to another, move from one block of text to another, things like that. I can still preach without notes if I want to write it all in a preaching Bible or something. I have that ability. I have that option for myself. It's just not real practical for me right now because this is a really busy time of the year for me, and committing so much stuff to internalization gets to be a little bit harder. And so I'm using the paper notes. I'm not really using my iPad. Now, for my little funeral series that I did about 4 videos on tips and tricks for preaching a funeral. Preaching with your family. I mentioned in that video series that I did use an iPad. Now, I want to point this out because I want to point out that yes, for preaching a funeral, I really do recommend using an iPad. One reason is because this is not made of paper like your Bible is. And if you have to do a graveside service, and it doesn't matter if you have a small Bible or a big Bible, the wind is going to catch those pages. I usually go by, I think it's Murphy's Law. If everything that could go wrong, it will go wrong. And so I try to prepare accordingly. For Sunday morning, I have my whole manuscript on my iPad. I have my notes written on pieces of paper. And if I really had to, I could just pick up my Bible and preach my message, at least the gist of it, in a way that I'm confident. But at the end of the day, I want to be able to prepare as much as possible so that should I have a really bad morning and I'm not mentally where I can do it without notes or whatever, I have my paper notes. And if I'm still, and most the time right now, this season, many of you pastors who actually do pastor, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Winter's thawing, and you're probably dealing with new spring events, maybe planning your summer vacations and all that stuff. Maybe you have an annual business meeting. We have that in February. Maybe that's something to talk about in another video. But, excuse me, for me, I'm trying to just kind of keep things smooth. And I've had actually people from my church family come to me and say, Pastor, love how you're more conversational. I really enjoy the message without the notes, without the iPad. I appreciate you're working hard to do this for us, but I miss you had so much more information when you'd preach with your iPad, or I miss all the little facts you'd throw in. And so I try to hit that happy medium. But for funerals, if you're doing a graveside service, you need your iPad. If you're doing just a service in general, you should use an iPad if you can. If you are not somebody who is ever going to use a tablet for preaching, don't feel like you have to. But I'm saying for myself, the reason I mentioned that in that video, for funerals, or any place where I might be preaching outdoors, I'm going strictly iPad. Now, I might write in the Apple Notes app what I'm putting on my stenographer notebook stuff. I might just take my Bible up there if it's not that windy of a day. but I'm going to be prepared because I don't want to go up there and seem unprepared. The worst thing you can do is stand in a pulpit and say, "Thus saith the Lord," and you don't know if he said it or not because you haven't prepared well enough, or you don't have enough resources at your fingertips to be able to prove that. Now, as this is kind of a house cleaning video, I want to point out I did not take my big thick boy ESV study Bible to Mexico like I had mentioned in that video. I had to actually kind of take some Bibles. I said smuggle some Bibles in. I wasn't really smuggling them in, but I did have a handful of Bibles, just a couple, 2 or 3 that I was taking to the church down there because some other people didn't have room in their luggage. And so I only pack with one bag, one carry-on. If I'm going somewhere for very long, I'm going to check luggage, but I don't want to. So if I can, I pack light. And so I took a light, just a backpack with just the clothes I'd be wearing, my Bible, and my handwritten notes tucked inside. I did take my iPad just in case, okay? But it's pretty flat. This is much thinner than this. So obviously I took this. I did not take this. But I still wanted to have an actual Bible with me, so I took this. I got the the Cambridge Pitmanion Bible. I saw a couple of reviews on this. One pastor had been using this Bible for 4 years for nursing home ministry, traveling ministry, and of course I took it with me and began working on what has now become my Easter sermon. And out of Zechariah 12, you can see my notes and stuff in there. I began working on that. It's a nice Bible. It lays pretty flat. Again, it's a Cambridge. It's that split calf leather. What is it? Calf split leather. And it's great for when I'm out and about doing nursing home ministry, things like that. I can just kind of roll it, put it in my pocket, and go. I like that. It obviously packed a lot better going to Mexico than my big fat ESV. So if somebody sees a video of me preaching in Mexico somehow, and I'm not there with my big study Bible, that's why, okay? Second, and this is a big one. This is really the reason I'm making this whole video. My LSB Bible. In the review I did, I said there had been an email sent out concerning some tears in the spine or something that was going on with the binding. And I hadn't had any of those problems yet. Well, lo and behold, like I said, Murphy's Law, right? As soon as I said that, I got to looking and noticed some tears in the binding. So I reached out to 316 publishers, and I sent this guy in to him. I even had my name stamped on this thing, okay? I was pretty impressed with it, and I love this Bible so much. But I sent it in, and they had it for about a month and a half, and then they sent me they sent me the Bible back, and it hasn't been repaired. In fact, I'm noticing in places where it's getting worse. And they said they're going to be sending me a replacement this fall, that they added my name to a list. Now, I don't know if I'm going to have to pay anything extra this fall, if they want this Bible back after I've been writing in it and taking notes in it and whatnot. You know, they haven't really said. I think at this point I might just, if I got to pay for another one of these things, like a $240 Bible, and if I got to pay again, forget it. I mean, I love the LSB. Don't get me wrong. I really do. But I'll ship this off and have it rebound by somebody else, some leather company or something. But I'm hoping I don't have to. I'm hoping they just send me a whole new Bible and all's well that ends well. In the meantime, I am trying to preach just out of the ESV. That's another thing, house cleaning thing. I've noticed with my church family preaching out of the NASB and the LSB, I've noticed that it seems like they're more receptive to the ESV. It seems like they're more receptive when I do the CSB. Before I went to Mexico, I preached on Psalm 23 for the first time in my life, and I preached out of the CSB translation. And it was like they understood it better. Now, I'm not saying my congregation's ignorant people. They are brilliant people. They're There's some very intelligent people. So I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence, but it seems like the easier it is to read the passages as I'm preaching them, no amount of a better translation would be this or a better translation would be that seems to really make any kind of difference. What they really seem to respond to is the word itself. If it just makes sense on the screen, they can read it. They can read it in their bulletin and go forward. And I like the CSB, but I don't love all the translations in the CSB. Sometimes I think the NASB gets it better. And same with ESV. I think ESV is kind of a happy medium between the two. And so that's what I'm preaching out of, and that's what I'm making a lot of my daily drivers, the Pit Minions ESV, the ESV Study Bible. I'm still doing my daily devotion. My daily reading is out of my NASB. And if I were to, be huddled into a cave because nuclear war breaks out, this is the first Bible that I would be trying to grab to take with me. I just like it. I like how it has introductions at the beginning of every book, like this. I like the side column references. I think verse by verse, single column is so much easier to preach from. But as a pastor, and this is kind of where the house cleaning and the pastor's post and all that stuff comes together for you for this video, we have to do what's best for our congregation to receive the word. Now, for myself, whatever Bible translation is best for me to read and understand and hide the word in my heart and all that stuff, that's my personal stuff. But preaching for my congregation, I don't think it's a good idea to force them to understand NASB or King James, and especially people who, there are people who are not real scholarly in my congregation as well. And I think it would be a disservice to them to try and force them to, elevate their reading level and things like that. Now, again, I'm not saying they're unintelligent. They very much are intelligent people, but I want to be able to communicate Christ effectively to them. And if that means all through the week I'm in the NASB, but on Sunday I'm in the ESV, so be it. If it means on Sunday I'm in the CSB, Wednesday nights I'm in ESV, whatever, it doesn't matter. I want to make sure the congregation has a good grasp of what's being read to them, and so that they understand. And I think you have to be consistent with that. Over the past couple of years, I've went LSB, NASB 95, NASB 2020, ESV, CSV, and back again as I preach. I always try to have the best translation each week, but I'm finding more and more that if I just stay consistent with one translation that's easy for them to understand, it seems to make a bigger impact. So with that said, that's it for this week, for the next couple of weeks, because I will release these bi-weekly. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, make sure you hit like, make sure you subscribe, share this with your pastor friends. Hopefully they find these things encouraging and enlightening, and maybe it helps their ministry along the way. In the meantime, God bless you guys. Thanks for watching.